what we're going to do is we're going to mess around with the modifier that mirrors. When you create a spacecraft or aircraft or even a stroller, you notice that everything has symmetry to it. Notice how all kinds of vehicles, including aircraft, have symmetry. There's a line you can draw down the middle of it, and it's equal on both sides. For an automobile, the same is true. You draw a line down the middle, and it's the same on both sides. Motorcycle and spaceship. For this activity, you're going to be creating a spaceship. Why? Because it's easier, in most cases, than to try to model exactly what a car would look like. Spaceship is fiction, so you can kind of explore your taste in what looks like a good craft. So let's do that. So let's start with a cube and bring the cube up to 0 on the plane. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to subdivide. In edit mode, we're going to right click and choose subdivide. Next, we can use X-ray mode so that we can select just one side of our cube. Now, when I click delete on the keyboard, and if I choose vertices, it should take care of everything on that side of the cube. Why did we do that? Well, we're going to then add a modifier under the wrench indicator here, or a wrench button, and we're going to choose mirror modifier. Now the mirror modifier by default will only go to the x-axis, and it just so happens that I actually started this with the y-axis. So I'm going to turn on the y and turn off the x. You can only choose one in this situation. Now that we have our our y-axis mirrored, what that means is anything we do to one side will happen to both sides. So if I pull on this here point or vertice, that's what happens. Okay. Undo. Let's say I go ahead and click on this line here and pull that. Oh, that's what's going to happen. All right. So what I'm going to have you guys do is experiment with this a little bit. And for example, I might choose this face here and choose E for extrude, enter, and then pull it out. So now I'm on my way of making some kind of what could be an aircraft. Well, what more can I do with that? Well, what if I kept that side selected and I pressed the S key? I can scale it up or I can scale it down. Maybe I scale it in one direction, so scale Z, that happens. If I scale it with the X, that happens. Let's take this face and let's pull on it. Let's pull it forward. Let's hit E, enter again, and make an extension of that. You're looking at some kind of fictitious spacecraft. So your interpretation of what it's going to look like is really going to what's going to matter. Experiment some more. Click E, enter again. Pull that out. Scale that down. What happened here? This is very interesting. When I scaled it down, this kind of split apart. This is an important thing we have to pay attention to. You cannot have this split apart. Maybe it looks cool for this particular instance because, you know, that could be a thruster. But for the rest of it, it would not work out. So we don't want to do that. Let's undo. And what you want to do is this checkbox over here on the right says clipping. That's the mirror modifier, you want to have clipping turned on. So now when you scale it down, it scales it uniformly, and this line will never split. So your mirror will always be glued together. And that's kind of important as you sculpt this forward. All right, so now I have this kind of point, okay? Over here, let's say I grab this side and let's just pull on it, thicken it up a little bit. Maybe I scale it down. And what if I extruded that? E, enter, and pulled on it? What would happen? I got kind of a wing look. And then what if I scaled that down with the S key? What if I pulled on that? What if I made another extrusion and pulled on it? Okay. I'm kind of going with it here. I don't know what's going to look like. I'm just kind of winging it. You got that right. So we're gonna hit E enter once again, pull up on the top, maybe just shove that back like that. I don't know. Scale that down, make it nice and pointy. I don't know. Scale it one way. Let's try X. Kind of really make it pointy. Another way to check on that is to actually use the keypad on your mouse. See, now that looks fine. So I press the 7 key, so I get the top view, which is actually a good way to work on this, because I could, work from the top here and make sure that everything is where I need it to be. So, what else? Oh, notice how you can't click on the other side. That's because it's the mirror opposite. So as you're sculpting this, you're only working on one side. As we move, when we get to the point where you're happy with the overall shape and design, you can add on new objects to it. For example, I could add on, and so if I go into object mode, I can go and add a new cylinder. A mesh. I can add a cylinder. I could rotate that cylinder kind of like this, right? And I could move it around. Notice this cylinder is not mirrored, right? There's no mirror modifier on this object. And that's fine for what we're doing here, because what I would like to do in this case is maybe add this to the middle of my aircraft. Let me get out of X-ray mode. I've been in X-ray mode this whole time. Yeah, let's say I kind of do something like this, and then scale it, move it back. Right, so you can kind of get the idea there. And what can I do? What can I do with this here? Is I could go back into edit mode, select just the face here. So I'm selecting just the face. I can do E enter S, scale it in a little bit, just a little bit, and I can do E enter and push it back like this, maybe. Oh, I don't know, maybe scale it down like that. I don't know. And then E enter and push it back some more. I'm really winging it here. I've done this many times in every design I've tried or I've worked with has come out different. Just really playing around here, and that's kind of what I want you to do, is come up with something different, something unique. So the backside here, I would do E enter S. I'd scale that down a little bit. E enter S, scale it down, or just a smidge more. Actually, I backed that up. What I really meant to do is push it in, E enter, scale it down, and then E enter, pull it out, and scale that down. And I got myself some kind of propulsion unit to go with my aircraft. All right, now what about a cockpit for this aircraft? Well, I can add a new object mode. I'm going to add, let's do a sphere. All right, and with the sphere, let's only scale it in one direction and move it down. Let's put it a little on the large side. We'll scale that down even further and move it forward. All right, so this is really kind of just a playing around and figuring out what you can come up with. We should smooth that over, by the way. Shade smooth, which is a nice feature. Yeah, just playing around with what your aircraft might look like. Aircraft, spacecraft, motorcycle, car, So this is very basic in shape. I got to work on it. So I'm going to go back to this actual frame, and I'm going to go to edit mode, and I'm going to subdivide further and further and further until I get something more detail. In other words, here, I can right click, subdivide that. And then I might pull this part forward, or maybe scale it down, give it some kind of a nice swoop. Notice that front wing swoop right there? It's kind of cool. Actually, if I push that back a little bit, gives it a nice stealthy look, right? I'll take this one here, right click, subdivide that as well. I need you for this project to subdivide a lot and give it more detail. Subdivide this. Oh, I meant to subdivide before I scaled. Right click, subdivide. Subdivide. Oops, not subdividing. Here we go. Glitch. Not sure why it's not subdividing at the moment, but anyway, scale it down. Push it back. See what you get. Interesting look. And this is what it's going to look like and when it's rendered. So if you can look on this side and go, okay, that's what it looks like. That's what it's going to look like. So again, if you hit the render feature here, you're going to get that that kind of nice look. For now, this is the goal, to try to get this thing looking like a worthy craft, a vehicle, if you will. Some more tools that I'd like you to know about. The knife tool, which is K on the keyboard, will allow you to cut anywhere you'd like. So if I wanted to cut, say, from here to here and hit enter, I've just made a cut. So if you want to be very specific in your cuts, you're welcome to do that. So again, the K key allows you to cut from any point you want. You hit enter, and now that area is now editable, right? So you can modify the look and feel of your aircraft. Another cool tool, very useful, is the loop cut. It's either this button over here or Control R on the keyboard. The loop cut allows you to kind of like, well, just that. Find an area that you want to loop and cut. So now I've loop cut this entire section in here. And with that power, you can then select, if I hold Alt select, I can select all of these. And then I can scale them down or up. So the loop cut allows you to kind of, well, make cuts along the way, and then you can Alt select. So I'll do that one more time. So I'm going to loop cut, say, this section. Oh, actually I can do that. And if I were to Alt select this line here, scale it up, kind of playing around with the design a little bit. Look at that. That's some more detail to the craft. So the loop cut is useful in many ways. And what you want to do is just walk around your ship like this and find places to loop cut. Here's another one. It gives you more places to scale, manipulate. Maybe I'll pull this out. Give it a nice point. Alright, so I'm crafting, you hear what I just said there, crafting this aircraft using all these methods that I've kind of shared with you. Something happened here, and I'll probably figure it out later, where my subdivision here didn't appear. But it's there, so it's odd. It's odd. I might have, yeah. I messed this up pretty bad. But to fix it, you're gonna want to put it in X-ray mode. Select. Oops. Let's get off that. You're gonna want to select that whole region right there. Delete your vertices. Say goodbye. Fix it up. I don't know how I did that. Oh, yeah, look at all those little... Yep. So I screwed something up there. So how do you make a new face? That's a good question. How do you make a face back on there? what you have to do is you have to select all these vertices. So keep it in X-ray mode, and then select, you know, those vertices, and then well, F for fill. Fill face. F for face. Fill face. All right, so now I got my face back. I think I can just select. Let's select that face. Let's extrude it. Yep, we're able to rebuild it, but these are all subdivided, so that's okay. I'm gonna scale it down, and I'll push it back. That's better. I'll extrude that again, pull it out, push it back, scale it down. And then I might play around with it just one more time. I'll do a scale, but a Z-axis. Kind of bring it out like that, maybe pull it up. I don't know. Yeah, there's my cool looking craft. So I want to color this bad boy. I want to make it some cool looking colors. So let's see what I can do here. So let's go in object mode again. Let's make sure we're on the craft. Let's go to materials and, well, the default material. Let's give it a color. Well, let's see, red, yellow. Oh, what's that? There we go. The base color, I'm gonna choose, you know, some deep color, like a gray or bluish gray, just for kicks, just so I can get excited about it. You know, we're gonna add some different kinds of material moving forward, but just to give it some color, and at least to be able to identify the different objects, right? Because this is one object, this is one object, and this is one object. So I might color code that one differently. I'll call that one, well, like a bluish or purple. Purple. Ah, purple's nice. Yes. And then down here we can do a black, let's say, or deep gray. Deep gray. So yeah, there's that. I really don't like this front part of my aircraft. I'm gonna actually tweak that.